So before we start, just go ahead and lay everything out. Make sure you have some scissors. So we're going to do the white, and then I do the black. Then from there we do all the flowers, so the brown and the petals, and then very end you get to do the black lacing. So here we go. Open up your string, and I'm going to start with the white string today, and we're going to do the base, the actual face of the skull. Now, the steps that I'm going to show you are the same steps that you're going to repeat for every single section of every single color. So the eyes, the nose, the white, and each petal, and the brown, everything. It's the same kind of steps. Step one is you are going to tie a knot around one of the nails. So I create the loop in the air. That's a little easier for me. And then I put my loop over any nail in the section and tie it tight. Then I do a double knot, sometimes 3. So after I've tied it tight, just do at least one more loop to secure it on tightly. And then the tail right there, you can just sort of trim it. Just make sure it's about a quarter to half an inch, and just so it can be tucked inside the design. Now we're ready to outline the white section that we're going to be doing. So as you can see, I'm just sort of looping it around the nails again and again. I outline each section just so I know where to stop and start, because at some point we obviously get to color in the middle of it with all the white string. So I go ahead and I go down and follow. One thing we are going to be doing is counting nails a lot for this one. Just be prepared. That is how I make sure that I put the string in the right place, especially when we get to the smaller details. But as you go around, you can do some tricks. As you hold the string tight, that will keep it from unraveling, and definitely use both hands to go around everything. And you can even cheat. And if you don't want to loop it around every single nail, you can do it on the curves. And then now here's the nail counting I talked about. So go ahead and make sure you refer back to that cover page and see where to stop for the white and where to just kind of tuck in for all of the petals. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep wrapping the string around these nails, and then count up to see where I can cut in and outline the bottom of those petals. This is definitely going to help when you get to the yellow and make it a little easier to figure out which petals are which petal. But it's not the end of the world if you get the white in the wrong place, because you will be going over it with obviously the yellow and the orange and then the black. So it will cover the white, but the more string you put on these nails, the less that fits. So for this one, you're going to be putting a lot of string on these nails. So definitely try and outline them as best you can, but don't totally stress about it. Now, especially with this part, always kind of gives me a little bit of a hard time. So don't worry. Sometimes the mixture of nails does get confusing. So I want to show you a little trick you can do. Instead of stressing out about that, you can just sort of sneak back down to the side where you know where the nails go. And I like to work my way up just like this. And so that is another way to sort of start fresh if you do get lost in it. It's one way to sort of, sneak around and count nails from that side, just so you know. I've done that plenty of times, and I actually did that when I was recording this one. Now that we have outlined, we get to fill in all of the white. So this is kind of the same idea that you've been doing. We are just going to continue wrapping the string around the nails, and you can do this technically in any pattern that you want. You can do it up and down, side to side. You can do a pattern like this to fill it in, and then you just basically change directions and go back and forth in an opposite direction. And then you can kind of go wild all over to fill in any other gaps. And this will take some time, but this is the fun part. This is the easy, fun coloring. We are going to avoid the eyeball sockets and just go around it and use them to fill in between the petals and the black eye socket. You're just going to kind of go back and forth and don't cross over into them. Once you start getting down to the mouth area, you can definitely go fully across it. You don't have to avoid any of the mouth because you want it showing underneath right there. So go ahead and you can use all the string all that way and spread it across, and you are just fine. One thing that you will notice when you're going over that the nails for the mouth will kind of catch. So as you go, you can sort of just push the string down so it's in between the nails and not floating on top. And that'll help keep it tight throughout the whole thing. So you do have 2 sets of white string in there, and in just a second I'm going to show you how to tie off the first string, and then you can repeat the same steps with your second one as you continue on, just to fill in any gaps. But one mostly covers it, but it's just the same thing that we did as the first step, which is the double knot. So just make sure you have enough room left on your string to tie it, and then repeat it by just looping it in the air. Then I like to put the loop over a nail and hold onto it with my finger as I pull it tight. That really helps control it and make sure it doesn't fly off. And then make sure you do at least 1 or 2 more of those same knots to really make it secure. Then you can just tuck any extra string into the design with either your scissors or fingers. If you have gaps still, go ahead and grab the second thing of white string and just repeat each of the steps we just did, and the skull base will be finished. Now grab the black for the eyes and the nose, and you can do the mouth, but I'm just going to do the eyes and the nose first. And again, it's just all the same steps that we've done for the white. You're just going to go ahead and tie the double knot and loop it on any nail. You can do 2. Before you start, go ahead and push down around all the white just to kind of get that whole layer farther down on the nail. That'll make it a lot easier when you're adding your black string because it'll be farther down. I want to show you something a little different for this one that we didn't do for the white. So just go around the outside and get your border, just like we did before, just the one time. And then we're gonna do what I like to call the crisscross. Eventually it'll look like an X, but the first step of that is you're gonna make a diagonal line in between each of the nails. So front and back, sideways, in between each of the 2 nails, going all the way around. So that is the second step. Then we're gonna go back the opposite direction, the same thing, front and back, front and back, front and back, crisscross. And when you're doing this, by that point, this is where you get the X shape once you've done this for the second time. Now for the fourth go around, you're gonna go on the inside. So just looping around and around and around each nail for the inside. All right, so as you finish this, get ready for a zoom in. I'm about to pick up the board and I'll show you in a sec the actual X that you are supposed to be creating. So if you see here, all the way around, we have the X's between each nail, as well as a line on either side. So you're basically doing that all the way around. So it's 4 different steps just for that, okay? Now, just like before, you get to now go ahead and fill in the center any which way you want, back and forth, back and forth. Then you're going to do the same thing after. Tie your double knot, trim it off, and tuck it into your design. Now go ahead and repeat all of that for the other eye and the nose. So as we are doing this, there's some that you can do beforehand that you have to do beforehand, and then there's others that you can do in any order you want. So what I like to do is I'll do the white and the black eyes and the black nose, and then sometimes I'll even do all the black lacing down here. All of this has to kind of go together, and obviously the black lacing has to go after the white. So things like that. And then the black lacing goes last over here. But technically you can do the orange petals or the yellow petals or the brown center, any of those first in whatever order you want. So I'm probably just gonna start going for the brown and sort of clear that out and get that. The brown one on this side, if you notice, it's kind of covered by these petals. So I like to do that so it gives it more of a 3D look. It will be lower. And if you remember from the white, you are supposed to push down as you go so you have room on all of the nails, because you will run out of room if you don't push it down. But anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the brown, and let's see if we can undo these. Sorry if they're hard to undo. I try and do it so they don't unravel on you too soon, but sometimes I know it's a little tricky. Okay, so brown it is, and then after that, we're gonna go ahead and do some of the petals. I do recommend doing both the browns first. If you are gonna move on to the flowers, do the browns before you do the petals. And just check it off the list. So we're gonna go ahead and trim. And I do wanna show you on this side what it looks like when we don't do the border, because for the browns and even the white, you don't necessarily have to do those borders or even the petals because of that black lacing after. Oops, I said I was not gonna do it. So basically what you're gonna do is just anywhere and just start filling it in instead. Just skip straight to this part. You'll thank me later when the nails are filled with so much string. And this is definitely one project to take breaks with. It's not one that I recommend sitting down and doing straight through unless you are, you know, it's an all day kind of thing. Because I don't want you to get frustrated. I want you to take breaks, keep it fun, especially throughout fall. Well, before fall. So now to fall, whenever you're getting this, so it's ready. And then it's just fun. And it's great because you can have this on display every year. So don't even worry about finishing it right away. Great to sit in front of the TV if you want, or just sit around, bring it to parties, have a party with your friends. and everyone doing either this craft or a different craft. Like a girls' night. See, so we're still filling it in and we're not worrying about the border. Just gonna unspin some of that, which, be careful, don't unwind too much of it unless you get it tangled. Sometimes I even have it, I'll hold the bobbin in my hand of string, and sometimes that helps to unwind it. So we can go back and forth this way and this way. And get that sort of thicker look. Bloop. It's just bouncing all over today. I know for this particular demo, I had to put it aside for a few weeks to try and work on other stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, let's finish that for everybody. So I'm excited to get to the petals, but that I can assure you I will most likely be taking multiple breaks on stringing the petals. And for that one, remember, we are going to be counting nails. That is the tip of the day. That counting the nails really helps figure out the petal shapes. So that is the best guide. Or if you just kind of want to make it up as you go, they can look different shaped petals if you want. Kind of the beauty of it. They're all about the same shape, and some are cut off and just layered. So if you do it differently, it'll just look like they're layered differently. And then just make sure you follow the black outline on the different color sections, and you'll be good to go. All right, and as you see, we are most likely going to have extra brown, and that is okay. I do that on purpose. It helps if you get a knot, then you don't have to worry about not having enough. You can simply cut, tie it off, and start again. It's just for oopsies. Let's do a few more random directions. And as you can see in this picture, you can do it just the hatch and then random, but for both of these, I'm going to do both of them random. But I like to do that in that picture so you can see that you can do it either way, and both ways are great. Okay, so we're going to cut it off. And there we go, extra string away, hold it tight, tie our double or triple knot. Now that you are ready for the petals, you can do orange or yellow, doesn't matter. We're gonna go ahead and let's do yellow. Yellow's fun. Yellow's happy. So we're going to go ahead and unwind this. And you can start anywhere, any yellow section you want. And if you want, you can even kind of pre-prep it and go around and sort of push down your sections. Another thing I like to do, which now that I'm looking, oh, it's over there. I do like to keep my hammer close. Sometimes when you're pulling on the nails over and over again, they do get a little wobbly. So I know when I was doing the brown, I felt one might be wobbly. Maybe that one, I don't know. So just in case, you can always have a hammer handy, this one, or even just a standard one. I got the little baby one over there, just in case, because it's lighter. So with all the hammering that I do, we keep that. So let's go ahead and choose a big section first. I'm going to start down here, I think. It's a little easier. So do your little loop, tie it on. And it's all the same steps that we've been doing. you're just gonna have to pay attention and count nails, like I was telling you a little bit before, unless you skim through, which is fine. That's what I do with tutorials, usually figure it out and then skim through. So we're just gonna kind of outline a little bit if you want, not the full crisscross in between, but make sure when you get here, it's the 1, 2, 3, and then the 1, 2, 3, because this part is gonna be black string later, so leave this part alone. Then we're just gonna follow it up, and this is that first leaf, and then you can fill it in, or what I like to do, I take it in like batches. So I'll do the 1, 2, 3 like that, and take that as a whole section. And then later when I come with the black string, then I'll pay attention, but it just sort of makes it go a little easier. And then when you get here, this is where all the overlapping happens, and you can sort of count, or sometimes what's easier for me is I'll kind of cut back over here, and as a visual, I'll just go up, down, and do this part first. If your brain is like, what the heck is going on over there? Then you can try it and meet it from the other side. And sometimes that helps me, if that makes sense. So now this point right here, we're at this point. So we're gonna do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go in, but that's the end of this part right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, look, hey, we did. So, and that is where that part meets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna end my section right there, and we'll do this yellow bit later on the other one. So we're gonna end it, and that's this petal, and this petal, okay? So now you can just kind of crisscross and start filling in however you want. Definitely have your other hand ready to catch it. And wherever you're feeling, just sort of wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap. Over and over and over. So you can go different directions like we've been doing. A little bit of rows and straight lines like this, and then throwing in those wild random ones after is normally how I go about it. So yeah, hold this one and sort of press it down as you go too. Remember, if it unravels, it's okay. Usually when I say that, I end up snagging and unraveling a lot, so I'm jinxing myself there. And we'll go over here. So remember, you can always come back around to do more petals. And then technically, there's a couple ways you can do this, depending on how messy you want it to be, and I'll show you both ways. So you can finish this section and tie it off if you want, or, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, or what I normally will do as far as come on, my mind is drawing a blank right now. What was I saying? Oh, so in between the sections, you can kind of just cross over with the yellow string if you don't mind seeing extra under, and then the orange will cover it up. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. So after this, if you want, you can sort of jump around this way. It kind of hides it. So you don't have to do a million knots, tying and tying and tying and tying. And you can just go, okay, 1, 2, and you can even count the nails. So 1, 2, 3, and then start down. So 1, 2, 3, and then you can start down that way if you want. So this is the way I normally do it. And this one is where we're at right now. And I sort of didn't finish this, so don't look at that. And then you can kind of fill in this petal and either go down this way on the next one, or I usually continue around and do the whole sunflower, and then I'll tie it off and go this way, whatever I'm feeling like. I've done it different ways. So both work. You can do a mix of both if you want. Remember, you can even kind of do this. And you don't really have to do the border like I'm doing like this, but it helps my brain know where to stop and start as far as the shapes of the petals. And then it just makes it easier for me. And then we're gonna just go in and start doing that whole thing. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And I need to skip back and finish that other petal section. But if you, technically you can cross that way, but then it gets super messy. And then for me, it's a little bit difficult to keep track of which petal is what color. So I like to do it this way or completely tie the knot on each petal. Up to you. So once we have these and this one, I'm just going to continue around in this sunflower and jump over to these two little ones, and then this one, and then these three, and this one, and these ones. Technically, you can do the orange, but whatever way you want. Especially if you feel like you want to switch one from a different color, I mean, go for it. If you're feeling extra crafty, don't be afraid to try, because worst case, you can always unwind the string since you haven't tied them off yet, and then you'll be good to go. So when you get little tight spaces like this and angles, I like to do that figure 8 like this in between all of them, and that really helps fill it in when you can't go back and forth, and that fills in those like random little gaps. So you do across diagonally and then diagonally across the other way, and that gives you the X, and you can just kind of wrap it all the way around. All the way around like that. And then that gives you just 4 times the string compared to just this one single one. And then you can do that in between this way again. So it's a figure 8, or you can break it down into those 4 steps, crisscross and then around. Or you can do just whatever, just a little bit of an X, and do a little bit more here. Again, the leaves, the petals will show a lot more when we go back to add in the black detailing. So just trust the process. You know, for me, especially when I'm doing new designs, even though I've done string art for so long, it still is like, oh, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. And then once I finish and do like, the black outlining and all the little details, then it's like, oh, okay, it did work. So I don't know why, even I second guess it for new designs, but try not to. Just trust. And there we have this one. So now I'm gonna go ahead. This one is a teeny tiny little yellow bit, and then I'm gonna do all the rest of the leaves. And then we'll tie it off and just switch to orange. So now that we have this, guess what? We're gonna skip this one over here, and we're gonna do these next 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the yellow will be done for this whole sunflower. So let's see. So if you haven't noticed, I just sort of count the nails, and that gets me to the next section. So we've done this one, so then I go, okay, skipping 1, 2, and that starts the next one. So it's really short, not really having to skip anything. And it's gonna go all the way down, and we'll do a few and then we'll count. We can kind of eyeball it already without counting, but if it makes, easier, definitely count. So this one you can tell is this orange piece right here. We've gone, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Haha! Okay, so then we're gonna go back up. And again, count if you want. This one goes down. We have just 1, 2, 3. Yeah, then we have 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3 right here. So then we're gonna go up and over, scooching back in, and then wait, I lost track. See, it happens. So we got to that, and then we did 1. We're supposed to go down. See, now I don't remember. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it is down. There we go. So that's that one right there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you can go back up to this 1, 2, 3, and now we're back to where it divvies over. Bloop. 1, 2, 3, 4 total. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll check it too. I might have gone the wrong way. I think I might have. And this is why I count, and sometimes my brain just goes blank. And this is when it's good if you want to skip over and go the other way. Okay, if we go across to this one, this is another way to do it. If your brain just doesn't want to brain. 1, 2, 3, and then over this way, and then down, and then back up. Wait. Then of course that happens as soon as I get back on track, huh? And then 1, 2, 3 up, and then we go down. 1, 2, 3, and then go over, and then there we go. Ta-da! See, so sometimes it just helps to kind of back it up and go the opposite way if your brain is like, where the heck am I going? And there we go. Now we go ahead and fill this whole section in and tie a knot. Or if you would rather, you can totally scooch over and continue there. But sometimes if you want to just give it a break, you can tie it and do all the orange, which is what I'm probably going to do. Okay, and again, if you get in these little tight corners, those figure 8s are great. As long as you actually hold on to the string. Not like me. Anyways. And this is what's fun, at least one of the reasons I think it's fun, is it's wild. You don't have to do the filling in any particular way. It's just like coloring. You can color it in, you know, from left to right, from one corner to big, huge strings all the way across like that. You can do a mix of everything, whatever your heart desires. And I think that's why I like it, because it's just so forgiving and it's not, you know, super particular. And then it's so beautiful after. Get your little thing around there. And it's funny, sometimes I'll just have it on a nail and try and get it on one particular nail a million times, and it just does not want to go for some reason. And so I take that as a sign that, you know what? That is not the right way to do it, I guess. Go down like this. Over to this one. It does go faster, though, I have to say, if you do go across multiple petals at once. It definitely makes it faster if that is what you're going for. But if you want to go slower, then take each individual petal on its own, for sure. It is fun when you start to see it come together. You know, when you do the first couple colors and sections, you know, like the actual skull itself, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see, whatever. But when you start getting to like all these details, oh, it is so fun. And it's like, yay, look, it's working. And then we hang it up when it's all done, and it's just so fun. See this little spot, we're just gonna sort of do a figure 8. Because even though I'm pretty sure the black string covers it completely, why risk it? Okay, and then this whole thing, little blip, is this little blip right here. And so that one is okay. And then we just sort of like follow it and see where it wants to go. Remember, at that point you can kind of like push down with your fingers, and that gives you more space. Oh, wrong one. And see, that's a wiggly one right there that I must have bumped into. So you can go ahead and just with your hammer, kind of just gently tap it until it gets stuck in there, because obviously you don't want it to go too far down because then you won't be able to string on it. So there we go. This yellow is done. Maybe we'll do the orange on this before I show you this one. We'll see. So now we're going to go ahead and grab the, is it burnt umber, burnt orange, orange? It's not quite an orange. It's prettier than that. It's a darker, rich color. So same thing you've been doing. You grab the end. I tie my knot in the air, and I'm going to start over here. And we are just going to continue the same things we've been doing to finish this sunflower. Well, at least before we get to the outline. So this is a bigger project for sure. Let's go ahead and see there's like the little details on this petal. And at this point, a lot of the petals will be a lot more visible to see just because we've done so much of the yellow. You don't have to even outline them if you don't want to. It's just personal preference. You're just going to go ahead and you can just go and start filling in. Oops, almost went the wrong way. You can just start filling in the middle without even outlining them. You don't have to. That's just if it helps get your brain thinking where it needs to go. And for me, that's normally how I do it. Maybe I'll be brave and not do it for a couple, and we'll see. We're just gonna go around like we've been doing. Let's see if I like this little bit. Just loop around. That. We'll go farther down an angle. Go back and back and back. And so you'll definitely notice as you're doing these, you probably noticed it when you were doing the eyes as well, there is a lot of string on these nails. So it will be a little more of a push, push, push kind of thing when you're going through this and when you're doing the black outline too, the lacing. So for this, you can either still skirt around because you are going to cover it with black. So you can still do that to jump around, or you can tie it off. Here, I'll show you. You can tie it off for each petal if you want to. That also works, and then you don't see any kind of traces, but it is a flower, so could be extra pretty if you can see it through there, which you won't really because of the black, but at least I don't think you do. So here, this is how we do it if we are going to tie it off for every single petal. And then I'm just gonna tuck that in. Yeah, and there'll be more to tuck under if you. All right, so here we have this kind of ovally shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and then goes down 1, 2, 3 to meet back, and that is 1 petal. Okay, and then we have down here, this little bit connects. So it goes from this point straight down. This part, this triangle in between can be sort of whatever, because it will be kind of covered with the black string. So don't really worry too much. And just sort of do whichever you choose, orange or yellow, or technically you can leave it as a gap if that happens too. So we got the point of it just right here, and it goes down 1, 2, and then it just goes straight over, and this is where it meets the other petal for this petal right here. So that's that little triangle. And here we can just sort of finish this little blip. 2, 3, and then it goes down to here. Back up, down, up and down, up and down. Same thing here, I'll show you kind of what I meant by the triangle up there. So right here is another triangle where the orange is only going to cover, whoops, this much. So you can either shove it over and do orange there, or what I did is I just kind of left it, and then when you do the crisscross of all the black thread, then it covers it. So up to you. If you want to continue it and go like that, you can, but I just leave it alone. Push the string down. Let's loop it back on the right side. And then we have this petal. All right. So now we have this petal, and then let's just fill this one in while we're at it. Because then the only little blip left for the orange section on this is up here, this little kite-shaped triangle floating up here in these nails. So while we're here, we can do this. Technically can pop over and do this too, but but whichever one you want. My brain sort of just thinks like, oh, which one should we do next? So for this part, this little kite section is the last bit. What is probably might be easier, might not be, is just remember count down the 1, 2, 3, and then up in a V, and then just cross over and go straight up. That's it. So just down and straight up and around. And then go ahead and fill it in and either tie it off. I think I'm probably going to tie it off for this part just so I don't risk undoing this whole section. So I'm going to go ahead and tie it off after I fill in my little kite section. And then there is one little hiding piece right here that we're going to do that's orange technically. And then 1, 2. And then, oh, this one down here. Don't forget about this one. Yeah, that's about it. So keep going. So for this one, you can see I just went around. I skipped these middle ones again and just count 1, 2, 3, which is kind of the corner point for this one. And then this one right here is this one right here. And then you kind of go 1, 2, 3 again. Then you count down 2. So you go 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, and then back up again, and then down for your curve and fill in both the petals. When you're doing this part, the easiest, just like this, you do it in chunks. So you can start wherever you want. I just started up here and worked my way over. And for this one, the trick I did was I counted the points to get to this random little orange piece. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the little one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the triangle that is this little orange bit peeking out. So I'll do that next. And then you count over, you can do it on the bottom, might be easier. And you can still kind of do this whole section in one as long as you pay attention to this little blip and go down and then fill it all in. And then you can count over, bloop, bloop, 1 petal and do this next section. And then I just ran it through and connected it so I didn't have to tie a knot. So you can do that. And then, so I just did this little blip skipped it over and filled in all the rest of the empty space, and just paying attention to this. And remembering that we have this wonderful little detail coming up. Yay! It's so cool when you see the mouth pop out and the details. Ah, we're almost there, everyone. So next, I'm just going to finish off these little sections of petals, and then we'll come back and we will do the black outline and the mouth, which just goes along with the outline. You can do it at any point too, but there we are, almost there. Head and string the mouth and the rest of the outlines. So I've shown it to you before a little bit, the figure 8. Let's go ahead and just tie it on anywhere you want. Tying it on down here. And the figure 8 is just where you go around on one side. Let's actually get up here so we can see. Clear side. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on the outside, crisscross, crisscross, and then back down. You can break it into 4 different go-arounds like this. And then after that, you can kind of do this all the way down and then this, but do these steps like all the way around once, all the way around that. But sometimes it does get really difficult that way. So, oh, it is so cool when it starts popping out all these little details. So go ahead, you can do it this way. Sometimes I end up doing a mix of everything just like in the middle. So here we go. I'm going to work my way back down to this first. The mouth. This is a thicker section right here that we're just outlining. For the whole thing, there's no more filling in at all. It's just those figure 8s in between the nails. Once you get to this intersection right here, we're going to go over and then back. And I normally will take like little sections and do all the 4 steps and then move on to a section. Makes it a little bit easier. And then we move down 1 set. And then you can do any of those 4 steps first. And with this, if you look closely, they can all be connected if you want. Let's see. Come on, little nails. Just like that. See if you can see a little bit closer the details, and you'll have this paper too. So it's kind of like these 4, or you can just keep them all separate. It gets so close that you can't really tell the difference either way, so don't stress about it. We just want the thick line to make the details of the skull face and the bones stand out. And then hold it tight. And you can go around on the outside border multiple times too. It will be fine. Now we have to just do counting, and it kind of blends in with the white, so beware. You have to just do your counting again for the up downs and for in between lines. What we're going to do is we're just going to go back this way first. Wow. And here we can kind of even press down the string. You can sort of pull it if one is leaning a little bit after all the white string. The weight of the white string and the tension will kind of draw them in. So feel free to sort of gently try and pull them back out if it seems like that's happening. And again, if you have your hammer handy, then you can go ahead and grab that too. So I usually do, just see like this all the way around, and then I usually stop about here and I'll work on this whole section. And again, we're just sort of adding in definition. Whoa. All right, and then we can go down. This one will go all the way down in this little line. And so I'll work in this as a section. Just wrapping around sometimes just crisscross. Whenever you feel it needs to be a little extra secure is when you're gonna wanna wrap it. And especially at this point, you probably have a good feel of the string after doing all of this, which good job, by the way. It takes patience and actual dedication to string these beasts. So here we go, we've got this little chunk, almost, oh, I jinxed it. We got this little chunk, come on. See, it knows. How does that happen? All right, so now I'm gonna go down here and just do the bottom row. Let's make it easy on ourselves. All the way down, and we'll just work our way in. This is the actual bottom of the smile. Isn't that crazy? And also these parts, if you've skimmed through the video in the beginning, you can do this at any point. And just make sure when you do it, you don't skip onto this line. So pay attention. The worst case, you just unstring it. So now we're back up to this one, and now you can either go through and finish this line since you're on the side, or you can go back and do crisscross, crisscross. That's what I mean by it's very flexible as far as what section you want to work on first. It's just completely up to you and what you feel is fun. Dropping my string here. So I'm just going to go and check this little line off by going up and down, up and down. And just hold it tight as you go and use this other hand so it helps turn it around those corners, especially when you get in tight up here with the details. You need to make sure it gets on a certain nail rather than when you're filling it in and can kind of be flexible. We're gonna go around the whole curve like so. Let me string back up, see if I get tangled. All right. My nail in. Now we're going to go back the same way. With our first crisscross. Wrap it around. Hopefully I'm not blocking what you guys are seeing. And you can switch hands too and push it down as you go. And it's just these same steps outlining the entire piece. So the mouth and then also the petals, which you can just sort of copy and follow along this. If you feel confident and don't need the tutorial, then go for it. Okay, one last pass down here. See, so if you cross over, then it won't tightly follow the bone line. Loop it around. Hopefully it follows. Okay, so now let's go down and do the middle line. You can kind of slither it like a snake. I'm gonna switch. All right, now let's do the top line, and then on the way back, we'll go down. I'll show you. So this part, you do have to sort of look a little bit and watch out for when it goes up, just because it gives that a little bit more definition for the top, which is why we do that. So after we come back on this one, then you'll be able to see what we do to go up and down, but I'm sure you can figure it out as well. So it's just crafting, not rocket science. We've got this. Whee! And if for some reason there's a nail that, because different sections of the wood are sometimes softer, so the nails will go in a little bit more than some. So if you want, just take a hammer, and if there's one sticking up higher and you can't work on it, then just go ahead and do that. All right, so let's look closely, and even I have to copy. This one right here goes to this one and sideways. So that's the first one. And when I do these ones, I do the full figure 8, just because it's a couple. And then I spin it and do the full figure 8, and it brings you right back up to the top. We move along to the next one, and this one also will go straight down, and the next one after that straight down, then we skip one. So then it goes straight down. Make sure you go to the next nail on each row. Figure 8, go up, figure 8, brings you back, and same thing. You're just going to keep doing this and following your pattern on your front cover. once you get up here, all you're gonna do as far as tracing, the same exact steps as you've been doing through all with the black, you're gonna do all the way up here. And it's okay if you end up doing an extra layer. Here, I'll show you. So if you do like this, and then if you have to like double back, remember, push down the string. This is the part where you really need to push down the string when you can. And use your other hand to kind of hold it and tweak it as you go too, because this is the part where you're running out of space. But what I mean is if you have to go up through here, but then you have to go back down to get to this section, then it's okay if you do multiple around one section. That is perfectly fine. So just keep going, tracing, trace around here. Anywhere you see black, that is where you're gonna go. And then after this, you are done. Isn't that crazy? And you should have plenty of string. I know at this point, this is where I stand as far as the black string. And I do measure the string for you guys and try and throw in some extra in case you have to tie off. What I normally also do is when I'm working on this part, somewhere along here after I've done the mouth and all, if not most of the black bottom portion, then I'll tie it off just for my own brain. And I know that that's secure. And then I'll start a new knot somewhere in the petals, either here or here, wherever, doesn't matter. And then I'll just start another section. And so if you want to do that, go ahead. If you want this piece and all of this to be one solid piece, you can do that too. They're both fine. But if you are going to walk away from this, make sure that you kind of, tie it off. It will sit just like that for the most part. So it depends on who else is in the house with you that might mess with it. So just keep that in mind if you are taking a break as we go through this. And don't get frustrated. Just know ahead that the lacing is what I call this outlining up here is the hardest part, only because you are battling the rest of the string. So be patient. Hang in there. It is more of a tedious one, at least for me. And if you've ever done like quilting, I think it's probably like binding where it's like, oh, it's great and you have to do it and it's, wonderful. But at the same time, it's like, oh, okay. So just slowly but surely, you can do whatever order you want. You can either do see this one right here. I don't know if you can tell, it's giving me trouble. So just, and then pull it tight. Not too tight that you're going to break the string, but just, go along. And if you want to just do one set of it all the way across, or what I normally do, as you saw down here, is I kind of break it into sections and I'll do a whole section and then I'll move on to another section, just like when I color block. Same idea. And then just here, like these ones in between the colors, you can copy the picture over here. You can see right here, like this line and this line, or in the yellow sections, each line is a different petal. So just pay attention to that. And if you did decide to do a slightly different color scheme, because whether you accidentally or on purpose, it's okay. Nobody is gonna know what this looks like, okay? So just go ahead, have fun, and get to lacing. Once you have finished it all, one tip that I would like to give you and leave you with is grab your hammer and just kind of go around and sort of tap in a few places. I usually kind of go over the whole thing a little bit, just in case there is a loose one. You don't want it to somehow fly out on you. And then when it's hanging on the wall and fall apart, one won't really make the whole thing fall apart, but it will be really hard to fix. So just grab any kind of hammer and just gently sort of tap around on any that seem like they're kind of maybe loose, and you'll be able to hear it sounds different. Let's see if there's any loose ones. Just kind of gently. You don't want to slam it too hard. And it's just like extra security. All right, I think that one was pretty good. And here we are. You are done. Congratulations. And I hope you had fun and that you love your beautiful string art sunflower skull. Thank you.